Could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Thursday Night Football overtime. Dolphins, Jags, man, what a waste of time that damn was. Now, I'm not just saying that because I took an L the first time I've taken one on Thursday Night Football this season. Probably the first of many that I will take on Thursday night. But what's even more maddening about watching this game is knowing that the one next week is going to be even worse. Okay? What are they doing to us on Thursday? Anyway, I get it. This is the one where you dump all the games that nobody wants to see because every team in the league has to get a Thursday or has to get a primetime game. You're not putting it on Sunday. You're not putting it on Monday. So you're going to dump them all on Thursday. This was a horrible game. And I'm disappointed because I tried to hype it up. You guys last week were saying, hey, it's going to be trash next week. And I'm like, no. Look, listen. The Dolphins are much better. You saw that tonight. But I was hyping up the Jags. I'm like, look, man. And I think, first of all, had I known that DJ Chark wasn't going to play, that was a last-minute scratch. But I was aware of it before I made my pick. But if I'd have known they had a black place kicker in that Josh Lambo, all right, not the Mercedes Lambo, was going to be out of this game and they got a brother kicking? Soon as I seen the brother on the sideline, I said, oh, hell, I wouldn't have picked Jacksonville. Who wins with a black kicker? Nobody. Anyway, I digress. They were horrible tonight. DJ Chark not playing changed everything. Their offense was so stale. Gardner Minshew looked like trash tonight. And I've been hyping these guys up. The only guy that lived up to the billing was the running back, James Robinson. He looked the part. And he played his ass off. He had no help. Chris Connolly is absolute trash can juice. How many drops did he have tonight? God damn, if he could catch, maybe this would have been a damn game. Anyway, they're going to give us Broncos and Jets next week. What are we supposed to do with that? Are you kidding me? Man, it went from bad to worse. Anyway, let's talk about this game in particular as the Miami Dolphins smoked the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you know what? I should have seen this coming, honestly speaking. Because Miami had been playing good ball all year long. The loss to the Patriots, the 10-point loss, doesn't do it any justice. They were down 3 going in to take the lead, and Ryan Fitzpatrick throws an interception. And they end up losing that game 21-11. They were in that ball game. They played well defensively. And in the following week, they put up 28. Now, that score is a little misleading. They were in that ball game. They were even up early in the fourth quarter, 20-17. But they were down 31-20. Late stages of that game, they score a garbage time touchdown, get the 2-point conversion, kick the onside kick, don't recover. So it made it look a lot closer than what it really was. Buffalo was in control of that game late, but they were in that ball game for 3 quarters. So, man, I should have known the Dolphins were going to come out here and try to make a statement. I really, in my mind, I should have thought about the record. And my man, Ali Side on Twitter said, you really thought they were going to drop to 0-3? No, I didn't. And that was the thing. I didn't even think about that. It didn't register with me that, hey, these boys are looking. They're desperate for a win. They're not looking to start this season off 0-3. Jacksonville already got a win. They're not desperate out here. And so I should have known. But I thought that all the weapons, Laviska Shenault and Gardner Minshew and James Robinson and all these guys that I had been hyping up and Keelan Cole, all these guys are going to step up and make plays against this Dolphins defense. I was wrong. Gardner Minshew looked lost without DJ Chark out there. And I hate to keep bringing up DJ Chark, but I told you that this guy's a legit number 1 in this league. And without him, they look lost. And what did I tell you guys? I've said this a bunch of times, many a times. I'm going to keep repeating it because it's true, okay? If you don't have a number 1 wide receiver, it throws everything out of whack. And what did we see tonight? 2s posing as 1s, 3s posing as 2s. Conley shouldn't even be on the radar in terms of targets. He should be like the 19th option. But because there was no DJ Chark, now Keelan Cole has to step up and be the number 1. He wasn't prepared to do that. And now Chris Conley has to step up and be your number 3. And we saw what that turned out to be. He had to step up and be your number 2, He's a 3rd option at best. Probably more suited to be a 4th option, as you could see tonight. Then Gardner Minshew decides to have his worst game of the season. He's got a wide open Chris Conley. He probably would have dropped the damn football anyway, but had a wide open Chris Conley down the field. Overshoots him by about 5 yards. Yeah, I know it was pressure. I don't care. Literally on those types of plays, and I don't know if he knew his guy was that wide open. But at the end of the day, on those types of plays, just get it in the damn zip code, man. Just throw it up there and allow him, even if he's got a camp under it like it's a punt, just give your guy a chance. Don't throw it 3 yards out of bounds. What are you doing? Anyway, I digress. The Dolphins were outstanding, especially in the first half. I told you, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a national treasure. I said you guys need to really enjoy him while he's still here to be enjoyed. Because once he's gone, you're going to miss him. All right? His teammates love him. There's a reason why. I love watching him play. I've always said, I joke about Fitty Fitty. All right? You know, and I call him Fitty Fitty for a reason, because it's a 50% chance he's going to help his team win, and it's a 50% chance he's going to help the other team win. And that's why he's Fitty Fitty, and that's why you love him. Because I've long said, when he's in the game, something's going to happen, whether it's good for his team or bad for his team, all right, or it's good for the other team. Either way, something's about to happen. Are you not entertained? You're going to be entertained with him on the football field, you know. And he showed why tonight. He was outstanding in the first half. And some of those throws that he made in the first half, like the touchdown pass to Preston Williams on the opening drive, are you kidding me? Like, I know of at least 12 quarterbacks in this league that don't have the balls to throw that touchdown pass in there. In the red zone, where you've got tight window throws, where you got to zip it in there and throw with the anticipation, I know a bunch of quarterbacks in this league wouldn't dare to try that throw. And he puts it in there perfectly. You know, when Ryan Fitzpatrick is on, okay, you say what you want about Fitty Fitty. When he's on, he plays like an upper echelon quarterback. Seriously. When he is dialed in, and at his ripe old age of 37, he's still running around back there, better than half of the quarterbacks in the league. He can move, man. He can scoot still. All right? Things break down. You're in man-to-man. Your coverage, your back's turned. He'll take off and run for 15. No problems. And at the end of that run, nope, not looking for out of bounds. He may slide if he chooses to, but if he needs a first down, he won't hesitate to dip that shoulder like he did on the quarterback draw for the touchdown and lower that shoulder and pick up whatever yards is necessary. The guy plays the game tough as nails. I remember one time against the Jets, he ran for a touchdown pass. A touchdown run. And he takes a massive shot. I mean, this is a hellacious shot, and his helmet comes off. And he gets up, and his eyes are as big as silver dollars. But it's just how he plays the game, man. He plays the game like he's stuck in the 1970s. He would fit right in. Like, a lot of these quarterbacks in today's NFL couldn't play in the 90s, let alone the 70s. The 70s, it was savagery back in the 70s. They were clotheslining guys, and it wasn't even a penalty. It's sort of like 80s basketball. Like, the guys in the NBA now, oh my God, they couldn't last 5 seconds in the 80s. You get clothesline trying to go to the hole in a playoff game by Bill Laimbeer, you know, or Robert Parrish. You get clothesline by one of these guys, you know, and today in the NBA, they'd have to take them off in a stretcher, you know. Same thing with, you know, today's NFL quarterback versus even in the 90s, you could get hit. You know, that's why Troy Aikman and Steve Young's careers were ended early. That's why the league was like, look, we can't have our quarterbacks getting out of here early. And so they had to change the rules to protect guys, especially after Carson Palmer went down in the playoffs that one year by Kimo von Oelhoffen, and then Brady went down on the first game of the season. They were like, no, we got to stop this. We can't have our quarterbacks going down. So they changed the rules. But Ryan Fitzpatrick could play in the 90s. He could play in the 80s. He could play in the 70s. He's that tough. There aren't many of those guys in the league right now that could lay claim to that. But Fitzpatrick is one of those guys. He plays the game with a reckless abandon that is so fun to watch at the quarterback position. Now, again, he's going to keep you in some games. He's going to throw you out of some ball games. He's going to keep both teams in the game sometimes. But it's so much fun to watch this guy, and he was on tonight. Only 2 incompletions. Those both came, if I'm not mistaken, right before halftime. In garbage time, right before halftime. He was dialed in, man. I think he started the game something like 14 or something like that. He was outstanding, was Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he couldn't miss in the first half. You know, and they kept talking about Devontae Parker and how he couldn't run. Well, shit, he was creating separation. Every time I looked up, Fitzpatrick was hitting him, and he had at least 1 yard of separation between he and the defender. And you could tell he wasn't explosive and he wasn't dynamic, but it was enough to separate for those corners. I can tell you that much. So he had a good night, did Devontae Parker, for a guy that's banged up. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, I talked about Mike Gesicki. He had a huge game last week, 8 catches, over $130 and a touchdown last week in that near win versus Buffalo. And he had another touchdown tonight. I've said this. This Miami Dolphins team, they're coming along slowly but surely. They've weeded out all the guys that didn't want to be there. They went out in free agency, spent some dollars on some guys that Brian Flores and company were familiar with. A lot of those guys coming from New England and places that they're familiar with. And they went out and got Byron Jones, even though he's banged up right now. We know Xavier Howard, when he's healthy, one of the best corners in football. They're fixing up that defense, and this is the first game we actually saw that in the New England game. You know, they're coming along defensively, but I'm more impressed with what they're doing offensively. You know, the Ford guy's a nice, solid third option. You got Devontae Parker catching the football. Preston Williams is coming along. Every now and again, he'll drop the rock on you, but had a nice touchdown grab tonight. You sprinkle in a little splash of Jakeem Grant when you need to on something gadgety. You know, you look at the tight ends and Gesicki and Smythe and all those guys. They even added Adam Shaheen. I didn't even know he was on their squad till tonight. Looks like he got a little banged up towards the end of the game. But they got some talent there at the tight end position. Myles Gaskin, I'm still trying to see where they're going with this because he's an average back at best. You know, I like what he's doing, but he's average at best. They can upgrade that position. Between him and Jordan Howard, there's not enough talent there. Maybe that's something you look at in the offseason. You know, if you really want to upgrade this offense and get more weaponry out there when Tua finally takes over, I think one of those positions you could look at and directly look to upgrade is the running back position. But I talked a lot of shit about their offensive line. Austin Jackson is doing a quality job right now. All right. Solomon Kinley, a guy they got out of Georgia in the draft, he's coming in, he's starting, and he's doing a bang-up job. You know, everyone thought that Robert Hunt, the guy they spent the second round draft pick on, was going to come in here out of Louisiana. Lafayette was going to be the guy getting an opportunity at guard, and instead it's Solomon Kinley out of Georgia. And they got a lot of young guys, you know, and they went out and got Ted Karras. They went out and got the guard, Eric Flowers. And so they've revamped that offensive line. It looks pretty decent, you know. So I think the Dolphins are building something. Again, something of substance. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, you throw the – and I said this about a bunch of teams this year, the Panthers, Washington, Miami, Cincinnati. These are all teams that are young, that are building, that the record isn't going to indicate necessarily for all of those teams more likely than not. Maybe one or two of them may overachieve. But the record's not going to indicate just how hard these teams are playing and how far along they've come from the start of the season to the end of the season. Those teams are going to be in ball games. They're just not going to find ways to win. And Miami's one of those teams. You know, they lost a close one to the Patriots. They lost a close one last week to the Bills. And then they finally get their first win of the season this week versus Jacksonville. And I was impressed with what they were able to do with this offense. They didn't try to do too much. Chan Gailey didn't try to do too much offensively. And then once they got that lead, they refused to let Ryan Fitzpatrick throw it away. You know, they went strictly to the run game. All right, and they really didn't throw a lot of passes in the second half. I don't think he had but 5 or 6 pass attempts in the second half of this game. They didn't throw it a lot because they didn't have to. You know, the defense stepped up, made some plays. I still think they're lacking at the defensive end spot. You know, they went out and got Emmanuel Ogbah. They also went out and got Shaq Lawson. Neither one of those guys moved the needle for me. And so I think they've got some work to do along the defensive line in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback. But when you look at what they've done in the secondary, at the linebacker position, this is a different team. I like Grugier Hill. I liked him coming out of college. You know, this guy's an athlete. Now he's getting an opportunity to play. He had a nice blitz and a sack on a 4th down. It really kind of stemmed the tide when Jacksonville looked like they were trying to mount a little bit of a comeback. So they've got some stuff at linebacker. I like what they have done in the secondary. My real gripe with them right now is along that defensive line, specifically defensive ends. I think they don't have any guy on that defensive line. And it kind of all goes all the way back to when they drafted Charles Harris. And I told them, bad move. That's bad news. This guy is not good. And they haven't really had anybody since Cameron Wake. So they've got to fix that. But outside of that, man, this team is coming, man. They're going to be a much more competitive team than a lot of people think. And tonight was a good showing for them. And conversely, for Jacksonville, they had a chance on the national stage to prove everyone wrong. Remember, before the season, Jacksonville was supposed to be the worst team in the league. And they're going to be looking for a new quarterback at the end of the season. Come the 2021 draft, they're going to be looking for a new head coach. All those things may still happen. They may still be in play, even though I'm a much bigger Gardner Minshew fan now than I was before the season started, because I was one of those people. They're going to be looking for a new head coach. They're going to be looking for a new quarterback. They're going to be drafting in the top 3 of the draft, more likely than not. Number 1, I don't think they're the worst team in football anymore. I don't think that. I feel like the Jets are the worst team in football, and I think Jacksonville is going to be a lot better. Tonight wasn't a good showing, though. And they're not getting many more of these. As a matter of fact, they're not getting another one of these. You don't get another show. When you're Jacksonville, when you're Miami, when you're Washington, when you're Carolina, you don't get but one of these opportunities on the national stage. You can't waste it. They wasted theirs tonight. They won't get another opportunity and another crack at this. So for all the people that aren't paying attention to Jacksonville and think that they're trash, they're walking away from this game thinking, oh, yeah, they're what we thought they were. They're trash. And they're going to be one of the worst teams in football. They're going to have the number 1 pick in the draft. And they're going to end up drafting a new quarterback, and they're going to get a new head coach, and everything's going to be brand new in Jacksonville. And they're going to walk away from this game thinking that. And that's unfortunate, because this wasn't a good representation of what Jacksonville has been this season to this point. And look, ultimately, they may be trash. And Gardner Minshew may not be the guy. And their head coach, Doug Marrone, may get fired. And they may be drafting 2nd overall. And they may end up taking a quarterback. All those things may transpire. But after the first 2 weeks of the season, leading up to this game, that's not what they had looked like. And then tonight, they come out and they played their worst game of the season. They were averaging right around 30 points a game. They scored 27 in week 1. They scored 30 last week. And, when they got out to that slow start in this game, 14-0, I said, I'm not worried. Because they started out 10-0 against Indianapolis. They were down, and then they rallied back there and won that football game. They started out 14-0 last week against Tennessee, rallied in that game and tied it up at 30. So I wasn't worried about Jacksonville starting slow. They've done that all season long, so I expected them to find a way to inch their way back into this game before halftime and then ultimately take the lead some portion of the third quarter and win this football game. And it just never came to fruition. And I started to realize that they weren't getting any stops, which is the direct opposite of what had happened the first 2 weeks. They had gotten stops after falling behind. In the Tennessee game, it turned into a shootout as you got into the second half, but they got stops in the first half to allow them to crawl back into that game. They got no stops against the Dolphins. You saw that, Kyron. The Dolphins scored a touchdown on their first 3 possessions for the first time since 2011. Okay? That's not what the Miami Dolphins do. And so for Jacksonville to allow them to just march up and down the field the way that they did, it was a sign of things to come in this game. They simply could not get stops. And then the offense wasn't performing at the level that we had seen all season long. And again, a large part of that is because they didn't have their number 1 wide receiver. And that changes everything. Just think of it this way. Look at the Saints offense with and without Michael Thomas. Look at the Green Bay Packers offense with Devontae Adams and without him. It's a totally different show when you take a number 1 off of a team and out of the lineup, and then you ask the surrounding supporting cast members of that receiver group to step up and try to become something that they're not. And that's why the Saints struggled on Monday night. No Michael Thomas. Huge. Okay? Huge. All right? No DJ Chark. Massive tonight. And Gardner Minshew looked like a guy that was without his number 1 wide receiver. Like I said, the only guy that showed up tonight that did what he had done the first 2 weeks of the season was James Robinson. Everyone else on that offense looked outmatched and overwhelmed by the moment. And the Dolphins dominated this football game 31-13 as they get their first win of the season. They're now 1-2. So is Jacksonville after this loss. And it'll be interesting to see where Jacksonville goes from here. Is this a sign of things to come? Where the first 2 weeks of the season, family business, and they knew how to handle family members, and now they get outside of the family and they don't know how to act? Is that something that I should be expecting from Jacksonville this season? Or is this just an aberration because they didn't have their guy, DJ Chark, and your whole offense can't fall apart because of one guy? So I need to know, is this an aberration or are you really funky? And if you are, just let me know in advance. So if there's a game that's a coin flip, I know not to do this again. I just need answers. I'm being selfish now. I need answers so I know that I don't step into this landmine again. Because I'm pissed because I don't like losing on Thursday. I'm going to lose games. I know that. All right, I'm not naive. I don't like losing on Thursday. It's a bad omen heading into Sunday. All right, and I had been clean thus far. So, a little disappointed in Jacksonville to say the least. But Anyhow, got a super chat. And we'll get through some of these comments and then we'll get out of here. This should be a nice, quick show. Kevin the PRF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kevin writes, watching the Dolphins take their first 2 drives right down the field had me sweating over them like Beyonce, even though they're Cardi B. Look, Fitzpatrick can do that to you. He can mesmerize you, man. When this guy is dialed in, I remember him last year on a Monday night versus, it was 2 years ago when he was in Tampa. When, I remember the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, he was hot. The Bucs were hot. He came out in the Deshaun Jackson chain with the shirt on, with the chest hairs out, dripping. And he had that Monday night game against Pittsburgh. He came out hot. And then remember, I think it was the second half, he imploded. I mean, he went nuts. I think he threw like 4 or 5 picks in that game. Old Fitzy style. Fitty doing what he does best. But this is a guy that's just fun to watch, man. When he's hot, he gets hot, man. I'm talking about there aren't many guys in this league that are of his quality as a backup. Like, there's a reason he started for 8 NFL franchises, and no other quarterback can lay claim to that in NFL history. There's a reason he's done that. And it's not like, he got to start here because this guy got injured. No, he's the opening day starter a lot of times for these clubs. He started, and coaches are comfortable with him because he's a smart guy. He's a Harvard guy. He's a smart ass guy. He's a really smart guy, and by all accounts, teammates love him. He seems like a really funny guy. And after seeing his personality a couple of years ago in Tampa, I tend to agree with that. He looks like he's a really smart and funny dude. So I digress. I remember watching him on Hard Knocks. I think he was on Hard Knocks that year in Tampa. And I think I kind of got a little sense of his personality then too. So anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin PRF. Reese says, oh, Fitzmagic, never believe he can't throw. I love it. I love it, Ree. I love it. Reese says, Ryan Fitzpatrick is one of the most fun players to watch of all time. I told you, you're going to miss him when he's gone. You guys need to respect Fitty while he's here. He's a National Football League treasure. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Reese says, I'm going to be brokenhearted when Fitzmagic retires. Greatest backup quarterback of all time. He is honestly one of my favorite all-time players. He's a fun guy, man. And I know you have a little bit of a special place in your heart for him because of his time in Tampa. So Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy that I love watching play. Storm says, extremely disappointed in the Jags. Was hoping they would make it a game. Also, they are still doing Color Rush Thursdays because those were some poorly matching jerseys tonight. Yeah, put those shits away. The teal on teal. I didn't have a problem with it, but when you get your ass whooped like that wearing them, I don't want to see them again. So, yeah, they can go. SoFlo Sports says, what's good? It's been a while. Fins up. This game equals that Dolphin shit. Next week versus the Hawks, we're toast. Can't wait till Tua gets his time. Herbert and Burrow already have looked good. You're right. They have. And, it's only a matter of time. But, with Fitzpatrick playing like this, it's hard to sit him down. You need losses. And I know you're not rooting for your team to lose. But if you're winning games and you're competitive, it's going to delay the inevitable. And Fitzpatrick already knows what time it is, But, if he's not trying to lose games, he's going out trying to win. And if he goes out there and we get to week 11 and the Dolphins are, 5-4 or they're 4-5 and remember, it's 7 teams making it to the postseason this year. So you get to week 11, you're 4-5, and you're right in the mix, for that 7th wild card. They're not benching Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, that's the kind of the conundrum that you're in as a Dolphins fan this year is that, hey, look, you want to see Tua as soon as possible, but you also, don't want to just lose football games because you're trying to build and establish a culture. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy that can win you games. You know this for a fact. You saw it last year. Week 17, Patriots need the game. They won a first-round bye. And what do you say? To hell with that first-round bye. Matter of fact, this is our time. We do this to you every year. We beat you at least once. So we're going to get you right here and make sure you got to play in wild card weekend. You, right there, as Dolphins fans, you should take solace in knowing that you were the ones that put an end to the reign of terror in New England. Because if they get that first round bye, maybe they don't see Tennessee. Maybe they make it all the way to the AFC Championship game, and maybe Brady is back. But you said, nah, we need this shit to be over. And you took those boys down in week 17. You forced them to have to play in wild card weekend, and Tennessee took them out, and that was the end. That was the demise of the B&B winning factory. So you did yourself a huge solid there. Now the question is Ryan Fitzpatrick going to do you a huge solid by playing competitive ball, but making sure you don't get the dub? Because if he's winning games, you're going to delay the inevitable, which is Tua Tagovailoa getting in the game and getting some experience. Gregory Lightbody says, Washington football team should have kept Eric Flowers. Not for $10 million per. Nah, I'm good. Mr. TNA 2005 says, DJ Chark not playing was a big hit. Massive hit. Would not have dropped those balls like Chris Conley did. I know, man. I was cussing Chris Conley's ass out. Also, Jags defense is so damn bad this season, they cannot stop anybody. You're right. You know, I tried to ignore that fact because I thought they could outscore Miami. That's what I was banking on. But again, I knew DJ Chark was questionable. He was trending towards playing. I got some bad intel early this morning from Ian Rappaport. What's new? That DJ Chark was trending towards playing, and then he ended up not playing. And man, did that hurt. Anyway, Reese says, Fitzmagic loves football, Lou. His passion for the game just spews out of him. You're right. That's another thing that makes him so much fun to watch, is that he just loves the game of football, and you can tell, man. And you can tell when guys love it. Got another super chat here from Chris Devers, my man CD. Thank you for the super chat, CD. Greatly appreciate you. Chris writes, who will be better, Scary Terry or Slayton? Is that really a question? Like, are you serious right now, or are you trolling me? I feel like you're trolling me. Because first of all, I'm biased, but that's not even a real question. This is one of those multiple choice questions where I give you 4 options and I say one of these is true. And then I go, one of these guys is a number 1 wide receiver and you have to pick that guy out of the group. Darius Slayton is not a number 1 wide receiver. Why are you asking me this? Scary Terry or Terry McLaurin is. So that right there tells you all you need to know. Like, that's not really a question that even needs to be asked. Thank you for the super chat, though. Assist _ says, you can really game plan for a mobile quarterback because mobile quarterbacks take off depending on the coverage by the defense, such as Kyler Murray did against the Redskins. Is that true? No, you can't game plan. That's what makes those guys so tough, is because you don't know when they're going to tuck it and run. And then also, the offensive coordinator can build in some called runs, quarterback draws and things of that nature. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick scoring on that touchdown, on that 3rd down. That's a quarterback draw. That's a called run. That's hard to contend. That's hard to defend because you don't know when that's coming. They spread you out, empty the set, or they go 4 wide. So you gotta match the personnel that they're putting on the field. So now you gotta spread it out. And now it's one-on-one blockers. Everybody get a guy, and now he walks in the end zone. I mean, it's hard to contend with guys that have the kind of mobility of a Lamar Jackson or a Russell Wilson or a Kyler Murray, because at any moment's notice, they can tuck it and run, and you're just not prepared to deal with that. You can talk to your players all week long about how dangerous this guy is, and you got to keep him in the pocket, but at the end of the day, when all things break down, when you're doing your job as a defender, you're in man-to-man coverage, and you turn your back, you don't know that Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray is taking off. You just turn around and you look, and you see a blur, and this guy's 15 yards up the field. What can you do? Let's see. And I see you put can't. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. It's not impossible. It's been done before. It's just tough. Brian Sage says, will Bryce Love start? I would imagine you're not talking about this week. If you're talking about at some point this season, my answer is if we're healthy, no. DMV fan 123 says Myles Gaskin looks like a solid fantasy option. I mean, if you're really hurting, sure, but why would you pick up Myles Gaskins as a fantasy option? He doesn't strike me as a guy that'll ever go over 100 yards rushing. You know, he might catch it out of the backfield, and if you're in a PPR league, then maybe, you know, he looks like a guy that may catch 4 or 5 balls out of the backfield and maybe catch a touchdown pass or 2, maybe run. But when they get down there, they're not handing the football to Myles Gaskins. That's when they put in the ex-Philadelphia Eagle, Jordan Howard. That's when they put Jordan Howard in the game. So, I mean, Gaskins isn't going to be a guy that's going to, you know, get a bunch of touchdowns for you or anything like that. I wouldn't be running to the waiver wire to go pick up Myles Gaskins. That's for damn sure. I got a super chat here from Dor Gunner. Thank you for the super chat, Dor Gunner. Greatly appreciate you. Dor Gunner writes, I saw Fitz put 500 yards against Skins in Tampa. He says, Skins won, but Fitz threw like 4 picks. So fun to watch him play, win or lose. I remember that game very vividly. You know, that was the game in 2018. And we started off the season off well with Alex Smith. And he was moving the football up and down the field at will against our offense. He had at least 370 in that game passing. I know the Bucs had like almost 500 yards of total offense, and they only scored 3 points, I think, in that game, which is hard to do with the amount of offense that they had. But they turned it over like 5 times in that game. Fitzpatrick had like 3 picks. I remember Ryan Anderson poked the ball out of one of the Buccaneers running backs' hands after a catch over the middle of the field, and he runs him down and pokes it out of there Bolo style, and the ball goes flying like a punt down towards the end zone. They couldn't do anything right. And I think their field goal kicker might have missed 1 or 2 kicks in that game as well. It was crazy that they went up and down the field at will and only ended up with like 3 points that game, if I'm not mistaken. It was crazy. Anyhow, thank you for that super chat, Dor Gunner. Chris Devers, my man CD, says, and thank you for doubling up. Double up. He writes, LL's cap and coke, no disrespect. I'm spoiled with wide receivers. You are. It's ridiculous. You got an abundance of riches. Enjoy it while it lasts, because once Michael Gallup becomes a free agent, you're not going to be able to afford to sign him. You're going to have to let him walk. So enjoy it while it lasts, because it's going to be gone here shortly. So if I were you, I would take advantage of that right now while you have it. Reese says, the Bucs will be wearing our all-pewter uniforms for the first time ever on Sunday. I'm curious to see how they look in live action. That'll be cool to see. That'll be fun. On the road, though? Don't you on the road at Denver? Yes, you ran those on the road? Interesting. JCamman99 says, Ryan Fitzpatrick deserves to go to the Hall of Fame as a serious selection. He has started for a fourth of the entire league. Now, come on. Let's not get carried away with the Ryan Fitzpatrick love tonight. I love the man just as much as anybody else. We can't just start letting guys in because of accomplishments like playing for 8 teams in your career and starting for 8 teams in your career. We can't start doing that now. Let's not get carried away. However, I think you're being facetious anyway. I think that's tongue-in-cheek. I get it. But that's a hell of an accomplishment. That shouldn't go unnoticed. That's a hell of an accomplishment that I don't know if anybody else will ever do again. I mean, how often is it that a backup, and like I said, it's one thing to start 8 games for, a game for 8 different teams. I'm pretty sure there have been a bunch of quarterbacks in this league that have started, for 6 or 7 different teams, not 8. But these weren't situations where, a guy got hurt and Fitzpatrick has to step in for a week or 2. Everywhere he's been, whether it's Tennessee or Buffalo or the Rams or Tampa Bay or the Jets or the Dolphins, and I'm leaving out a team or 2 in there. Everywhere he's been the entrenched starter at some point. He's been the guy. So, it's amazing to see this guy get as many opportunities as he's had throughout his career to be the guy starting out. Knowing that you're not going to go to the playoffs, because we know that's in the NFL handbook. If Ryan Fitzpatrick is your starting quarterback, you cannot make it to the postseason. which is why they didn't make it that year. They won 10 games in New York for Todd Bowles. So, you know you're not making the playoffs with this guy as your quarterback, and they still elect to put him in there. So that's a testament to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick will have documentaries made about him after he retires. He'll be an on-air personality or something. He has left a permanent imprint on the league. Again, let me stress, let's not get carried away with the fitty love, okay? I love this guy. I love watching him play. He has not left a permanent imprint on this league. Not at all. He hasn't even left a carbon footprint on this league, okay? However, 20 years from now, you remember that dude, and it'll be some youngins that are like 8 or 9 right now. They'll be like, hey, I remember Ryan Fitzpatrick when I was, and they'll remember him as a Dolphin or something like that. And that'll be cool. But let's not get carried away. Now, I will say that if he wants, there is definitely a media job with his name on it. But I don't know if that's what he wants. I don't know if he wants to do that when he's done. We'll see. I know he loves playing the game. I don't know if he likes talking about the game. I don't know if that's what he aspires to do after his career is done. He's such a smart guy. I don't know if that's something that tickles his fancy or not. Gregory Lightbody says Trey Lance reminds me of Kyler Murray. He's a bigger guy than Kyler Murray, but I can see a little bit of the comparison. But they're both very athletically gifted, and they both take care of the football. JCamman99 says, I met Ryan Fitzpatrick once. I said, hey, Fitz, random question. Can you sign my jersey? He responded, that's not a random question. And he signed my Fitz jersey. You see, he's a smart guy. All right. He's a really smart guy, thoughtful. And that was not a random question. I need you to be better than that, JCam, man. That was a pretty cheesy way to get a guy to sign your uniform and your jersey. Okay. Need you to come with something more creative than, hey, random question, can you sign my jersey? That's not a random question. A random question would have been, hey, do you like olives on your pizza? That's a random question. Not, can you sign my jersey? Something he's probably heard 8 million times in his life. A little disappointed in you for that one, J. Cam, man. But the goal was to get your jersey signed. Mission accomplished. Good for you. Reese says, Fitzpatrick and Frank Gore need to unite on the same team forever, Frank and Fitzmagic. Have they ever crossed paths before? That's a question that I have. I don't think they have. But that's pretty interesting. Assist _ says, Fitz is a fantasy god. He's one of those late round guys that you can scoop up, and one of those guys you get waiver wire wise. And you usually can't go wrong with them. Now, again, you get him on the right week, and he can get you some massive points. You catch him on the wrong week, though, and he can get you some money. He can put you in a hole, a big time hole. J. Cam Man says, I'm really a huge fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick. He says he's probably my favorite NFL player. He works so hard and never quite makes it, but he never stops. It's very inspiring. Portlock Sono 87 says, what's up, my G? Can you see Cleveland Browns trading Odell to the New England Patriots at some point before the deadline? No. I don't think that's something that the Patriots would want to. But you know what? I wouldn't put it past them. They do a good job of taking veteran players and getting the most out of them, especially ones that we think are divas and malcontents, going all the way back to Corey Dillon. They've always had a great track record with guys that seem to have a bad rap around the rest of the league. They go to New England, they fit in, they conform, and they play good ball. I could see that happening with Odell Beckham, but I don't even know if he's available, especially if Cleveland's playing good ball and they're winning. Why would they trade away a guy like Odell Beckham? I just don't see it happening right now. Come back and talk to me in 5 weeks. If Cleveland is 1-5 or 1-6, then we may be having a different discussion about them. Maybe they are trying to move him and pick up some draft capital and move on from him. But right now, hard to really be able to project that because, again, the NFL season is so young. Mr. TNA 2005 says, Jags' entire team in 2020, Minshew, Mania, DJ Chark, James Robinson, and Josh Allen. They got some other guys. I love Laviska Shenault. I think they're doing a really good job of using him, even though I didn't think he touched it he didn't touch it nearly enough tonight, especially with no DJ Chark. He should have been a focal point tonight. One of those guys that they were moving around and doing a bunch of things and getting him. You saw he had the one catch over the middle field, bounces off a guy, gets a first down, and picks up an additional 10 yards after initial contact where he should have been tackled right at the sticks. He's an impactful player, and earlier in the season, they have been doing a really good job. And maybe because it's a short week, it's hard to put in a bunch of different ways to get Laviska Shenault the football. That's something to take into consideration. It's a Thursday night's quick turnaround, hard to install a bunch of gadgety ways to get him touches, but he's a guy that has to touch it. And they showed the breakdown of how many snaps he had at multiple positions this season. This guy even has lined up at tight end at 4 times this year. So they've used Laviska Shenault in a multitude of ways. He's a guy that moving forward is going to be a big part of that Jaguars offense, I believe, as well. And don't forget, in all these guys you named, don't forget about I said I wasn't going to forget his name, and I did. And I called his name earlier tonight. Keelan Cole. Don't forget about Keelan Cole. He's a huge part of that football team, too. He's a quality number 2 wide receiver in this league. I like Keelan Cole a lot. He's another guy that is a part of the foundation moving forward in Jacksonville. Gregory Lightbody says, I think Anderson poked our current running back, and I have no idea what you're referring to there. Ben says, that's funny. I was listening to your podcast wishing you were live right now, and then I go to check the Thursday night score and saw you were live. Sweet. I'm glad. Turn on your notifications, man, so you know when I go live, so you don't miss anything. And that'll take care of that for you. Mr. TNA 2005. I do this after just so you know, Ben, after every primetime game. Doesn't matter. Even next week when we get Jets and Broncos, begrudgingly, I will be here after that game. Okay? I will watch the game so you don't have to, Ben. I'll do that for you. All right? And Mr. TNA 2005 says, I do not like what I am seeing from Dwayne Haskins. He does not seem to be the answer for your team. From afar, I can see why you would feel that way. But I respectfully disagree. I'm not going to sit here and act like he's set the world on fire this year, but we're 1-1. And he's taking care of the football. And so we're going to have a chance because our defense is good. And I think it may take a little bit more time for him. And that's fine. I've got patience. We're not winning the Super Bowl this year. So I've got patience. Gregory Lightbody says, should Washington Football pick up Gallup in the offseason? I don't know if he's a free agent this year or next year. I don't remember which year he came out in the draft. I think this is year 3 for him. So he wouldn't be a free agent until after next season, if I'm not mistaken. I think last year was year 3. I could be wrong, and last year could have been year 2. And this is I feel pretty confident that last year was his second year in the league. This year is his 3rd year, so he's got another year on his rookie deal. So he wouldn't be a free agent. But he's definitely a guy to look at. But we'll see. I don't think by the time he becomes a free agent, I don't know if we'll be in the market for a wide receiver. We'll see. Mr. TNA 2005 says there needs to be an entertainment hall of fame for Fitzmagic 30 for 30 Winston and Minshew Mania. It would be interesting if they had, an entertainment NFL wing, but they don't. J. Camman says, I meant senior selection, like Fitzpatrick should get in the hall when he's like 70 years old. No, you can't. You can't do that. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Mr. TNA 2005 says, I want Trey Lance in Carolina. That could happen. Teddy was not impressive last game. Anything's possible. We'll see. My man Chris Devers, thank you for tripling up, CD. I didn't even see this super chat. I apologize for that. My man CD says, my man, you are the best on YouTube. Can't wait for Dallas versus Washington. I can because I cherish every single one of these games. After not having real sports and having to think about an offseason where the possibility of not getting football was very, very possible and very prevalent. I cherish every single one of these weeks of football that we get because I don't even know if we're going to get through an entire season. I've told you many times leading up to this season that I didn't expect this season to find its completion, and I still don't. And so I'm cherishing every single one of these contests that I get, so I don't want to rush. And it's just like life. You know how, when you work a job, and this is why I'm so fortunate. I'm so blessed because I get to do something I love every single day. Chop it up with you guys and talk about football. What could be better? So I love what I do. But I remember being a part of the rat race and what it was like, I can't wait to get to Friday. Hoping that Monday flies by so that we can get to Tuesday, so we can pass Tuesday, get to hump day, so we can get to Thursday. Man, it's almost Friday. Get to Friday, and wow, I want Friday. I want time to stand still because I want to enjoy this weekend because I got to do it all over again when Monday comes, and I can't enjoy my Sunday because I'm already looking forward to Monday because I know I got to go back to work, and you do it all over again. Now you can't wait till it's Friday again. I like every day to be a great day. I want every day to feel like Friday. And I want I want to cherish every day. And I look at football games the same way. I want to cherish every one of these I get. So I don't want to rush all the way to week 7 or week 8 when we play Dallas for the first time. No. I want to take my time. I want to go through these games one at a time. I want to cherish these games because I almost had to endure an entire fall and winter without football. That was scary. Very, very scary. So I want to cherish these. One at a time. Savor them. Even if it's a loss and it's a little sour. I like sour things too. I want to savor every one of these games. But yep, I can't wait till we play you guys either. But I can wait. I can hurry up and wait. So I'm cool with letting this thing. I'm looking forward to week 3 versus Cleveland this week. You should be looking forward to week 3 versus Seattle. We'll get to you guys eventually. I appreciate you though, CD, as always. You know that. Reese says, have you ever wanted a glorious beard like Ryan Fitzpatrick? It looks so majestic. No, that's a lot of work, man. That's a lot of work. Just growing out what I got right here. This looks like trash. This was a lot of work. I can't even imagine growing one of those types of beards. It's a lot of work. Christian Peterson says, Miles Jack seemed to be the only player prepared this season. He's been everywhere this season. He's been underrated because of how bad this defense is playing. He's a top 5 linebacker. I would agree with you the way he started this season out. I talked about him after, I want to say week 1. That week 1 game, he was flying around against Indianapolis. I thought he was really solid last week too. He's the only guy on that Jags defense right now that is recognizable. I see flashes from K'Lavon Chaisson. I do. But Miles Jack right now is the only guy that you can count on. I thought week 1 was a great start to his NFL career for C.J. Henderson, but last week was not good for him, and this week wasn't either. So he's coming down to earth. He'll be fine. I like C.J. Henderson a lot, but right now Miles Jack seems to be the only guy in Jacksonville that's playing at a high level, and it's amazing because when I look, I don't even recognize this defensive line anymore. I remember when they were Saxonsville, and you didn't have time to throw back there. The one thing you knew when you played Jacksonville is they got Ramsey on one side, so you can't go over there, and then they got guys that can get at you from one side all the way across the line, even at the defensive tackle position with Calais Campbell, and at one point they had Malik Jackson, and then you had Ngakwe and you had Dante Fowler Jr. They could come at you in waves. And now there is nothing. Taven Bryant has been a massive disappointment. I thought he was going to be like J.J. Watt light. He's been super trash. The Jones guy is more of a run stopper than he is a pass rusher. They don't have anything there that is recognizable. Josh Allen was cool last year. Got his first sack this week. That was a trash sack. I really don't know what they can hang their hat on defensively right now. And that's so sad because of what they once were defensively. They're a shell of themselves. But they're a young team. And that's what happened when you have a young team. You don't have an identity. They have to establish that. And we'll see what happens with them. Reese says, you're right, Lou. I'm exaggerating. He just holds a special place in my red and pewter heart. I know, Ree. Assist underscore says, do you think Baker Mayfield is going to be a threat to the Redskins due to some mobility he has, or how many sacks do you think we can get against them? That's a topic for another show, and I'll be talking about that tomorrow. Gregory Lightbody says, I'm talking about Peyton Barber. I think that was the comment you made earlier where I didn't know what you were talking about. I still don't know what you're talking about. Reese says, you ever heard of that show Kenan and Kel? My nickname for Keelan Cole is Keelan and Kel Cole. Yes, of course. Anybody of my age or slightly older, maybe a little bit younger, there's like a little window that you have to be in to know about Kenan and Kel and all that and shows like that. Obviously, you find yourself in that window. You ever go into a game thinking it's going to be trash and it ends up being extremely entertaining? All the time. That may happen with that Jets-Broncos game next week, for all I know. But it's happened many a times. There are a bunch of games where I'm like, oh, I'm not looking forward to this game. And then it turns out to be a gem. It's rare. It doesn't happen a ton. Usually when you think a game's going to be trash, it usually is. But there are times where you get a pleasant surprise. I always welcome those. Mr. TNA 2005 says, you are correct, Lou. We need to cherish this season. Football is so fun, and it was a hard time this summer. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Chris Devers, my man CD, really appreciate you. As always, CD, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, I trust in the Lord, but fam, Biz is the best. I appreciate that, man, and I do as well. Thank you so much for another super chat, CD. Greatly appreciate you. Gregory Lightbody says, why is no one talking about KPL? He already has 20 sacks and a forced fumble, and he's not good in coverage. Should get more reps. What are you talking about? You mean he has 20 tackles this season? He doesn't have 20 sacks this season. Anyway. Adam Gase, Reese says, Adam Gase is an example of Peyton Manning's greatness. One endorsement from Peyton Manning, and this scrub destroys 2 franchises as their head coach. Exactly. That's ridiculous. And that's a great point, Ree, that Adam Gase, and that's what happens when you get an endorsement from a legend like Peyton Manning. I've said this. Adam Gase is a great offensive mind. All right? I do not doubt that. I've seen it in action. I saw this guy take Jay Cutler and make him into a competent NFL quarterback, so I know the guy's talented. However, he's nobody's head coach. And it seems like franchises don't understand that. And I don't know for the life of me why the Jets thought it was a good idea to hire this clown. And he's doing what he did in Miami, but worse this time around because they gave him more power in New York with the Jets. And that's their problem, not mine. They'll have to find that out the hard way. A wise woman once told me, those who don't hear feel. And apparently they didn't hear about what he did to the Dolphins organization. And they should have known because that's a family member. Family members talk. So the Dolphins probably told them, hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you, New York. And they said, oh, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. He said, okay, go ahead and do what you want to do. Anyway. Ryan Anderson poked the ball from Peyton Barber's hand in 2008. Oh, that's what you were referring to. Gotcha. Yes. I didn't know what back it was. I just know he punched that thing out of there, and it looked like it had been shot out of a cannon. I got you now. Thank you for that, Gregory Lightbody. I did not know what you were referring to there. Got you. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Excuse me. Christian Peterson says, Paul Posluszny deserves more credit for his leadership while he was there. I talked about that. When he retired, I said, they're going to miss him because he was the glue that kind of held that entire team together. And, a lot of guys like him, they're unsung heroes. They don't get a lot of pub. A lot of people outside of the organization and fans of that fan base don't really understand the impact that a veteran like Paul Posluszny has on a team. But this was a team full of malcontents and guys that needed veteran leadership. And he was the guy that would hold all of those players accountable. And when he left, this thing fell the hell apart. Literally, it did. And he says Todd Wash needs to be blackballed from every coaching defense. He says the defense always looks unprepared, and it's sad. It's a shame because they do have young talent on this team. Lord Bigger says, who is your lot pick for this week and why? that's another discussion for another day. I'll be doing that on the podcast on Friday. I do that on Fridays where I give you all my picks and I give you my survivor pick for the week. So if you're looking for that, tomorrow at noon, I'll be live doing my podcast as I always do, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. And so Friday's show is always about my picks and the leftovers from Thursday Night Football and any other things that I need to clean up from the week. We do that on Friday, so we'll be doing that tomorrow. Gregory Lightbody says, yeah, 20 tackles. He's very underrated in how he is in coverage. He's been good. You know, he wasn't great in week 1. I wasn't overly impressed in week 1. I was very impressed with him in week 2. I talked about that on the film that I broke down on Patreon, and I talked about that on the show this week. Reese says, you like having Peyton Barber on your team. He doesn't do anything special, but he gives you absolutely all he has whenever he's out there. Yeah, he was instrumental in our week 1 win. We really appreciate Peyton Barber for what he is. He's nothing more than a short yardage back on our football team. But in those short yardage situations, I know if I hand it to Peyton Barber, number 34, he's going to get us the first down because he refuses to quit. So everyone, Rivera has said this numerous times. Everyone has a role. His is short yardage situations, and he does a really good job of doing that. Gregory Lightbody says, I don't think Washington football defense is actually good. They've been beaten deep a lot. Assist _ says, don't you pick Redskins versus the Browns. Don't respect the same mistake that you did against the Cardinals. You'll have to stick around and see what I decide to do there. So that's going to do it for the show tonight. I thank you guys for joining me tonight. As always, Dolphins destroy the Jacksonville Jaguars tonight, 31-13. And a lot of this damage was done in the first half. And then the Jaguars allowed the Dolphins defense to force the fumble. Kyle Van Noy forcing the fumble and then recovering the fumble to really put this game away as that led to the Dolphins' fourth and final touchdown of the night, put them up 28-7 and really put the nail in the coffin in the game tonight. As the Dolphins were lights out in the first half offensively, they were dominant defensively in the second half. And they secure the victory, their first of the season, 31-13. One little side note, the Jaguars right tackle, Cam Robinson, or left tackle, Cam Robinson, was thrown out of this game. I didn't agree with that. I thought the officiating at best was spotty tonight. I did not like the officiating crew that did the game tonight. I thought they were really touchy, a lot of soft calls, a lot of things I didn't agree with. Stay out of the game and let the players on the field decide the outcome of the game, please. Thank you very much. With that being said, I'm going to get out of here, glide to the side. You guys make sure that you sub the channel if you haven't already done so. Make sure you turn on your notification bell. Hey, I'm talking to you, Ben. Okay, turn that notification bell on if you haven't already done so you don't miss a thing here on the Louie T Network, including Louie T Network podcast. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can catch me. We had a fun discussion on Wednesday. We were talking about squirrels. I saw a black squirrel. I was talking about that. And then that ended up prompting a discussion about red squirrels and white squirrels and gray squirrels. And yeah, it was fun. We do that sometimes on the podcast. I could go off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's nor here nor there. I thank you guys for joining me. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow on the podcast. And look forward to the weekend of football that we have coming. Should be a fun week, man. Some really good matchups. We'll talk about those and more tomorrow on the pod. Make sure that you like this video on the way out if you haven't already done so. And also, remember, if you want more content here on the Louie T Network, Patreon is the way to get that done. Also, you'll get the rookie wall, where we follow all the rookies of the 2020 draft class and see where they end up in terms of their production and how well they're faring on a week-to-week basis. It's a cumulative effect. So guys climb, guys fall, but we look at the totality of what they've done this season, and we list them 1 to 7 each and every single week on Patreon exclusively. Same thing with NFL Peak Performers. Each week, we look at the best 7 performances of the week and rank them. And so that keeps you abreast of what's going on in this league. That's also exclusively on Patreon. So a lot of content out there, and also Washington football film breakdowns every week on Patreon as well. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not, I repeat, not the best NFL coverage it could be. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your net. And I will now take off and go to the gym because I don't have a life. You guys have a good one. Take care.
LouieTeeNetwork.